And do you know what the construction of the existing tanks are now?
Are the tanks getting replaced?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is Jeffrey Martell.
Yeah, how are you? Sorry, mate.
Right.
Yeah, we're pulling the old tanks,
The proposed store is right over the tank, existing tank, farther.
putting in 2 tanks, as you said, one's gonna be baffled, and they're blending, high grade and.
Who's doing the work? Well, you haven't bid it yet.
We haven't bid it yet, but it's probably gonna be American Petroleum. They do like 60% of the work for
I
the,
know
for the
who.
owner.
I know.
Yeah,
I-
yeah, they do most of the work for these guys.
Okay, so let's start off the right, let's just go out what I want. Not to be selfish. But what I'm gonna need is, I'm gonna need, and I'll have to write this down. I'm gonna need a copy of the current PBS registration of those tanks.
Okay.
Of the existing tanks.
Yeah. I need to know the construction of the existing tanks. Are they fiberglass or are they steel?
Fiberglass,
Okay? Double wall?
correct.
They've only been in for a short
Yeah,
time,
they've only been in there maybe 5
or less.
less years, yeah. They were, this station turned over, I think, ownership or operators within the last 5 years. So I'm pretty sure they replaced the tanks at that point, didn't do all the product piping. So they did the tanks and they basically kept the product pipe in and connected.
You guys are gonna, before you pull the tanks, you're gonna do a tank test on the entire systems? On the entire system,
Before we pull them?
before you pull them, to guarantee, to show that the tank systems are tight.
Yeah, we can, for the existing.
Right.
Yeah, we can do it like a
Just on the
tightness
primary,
test.
I'm not looking for the secondaries, I'm just looking
Yeah,
for.
I'm just trying to think about how,
You could do a precision tank
yeah, I
test.
guess, yeah, okay.
You could do a precision tank test on this. And if you had to, you could always isolate the tanks and do a tank test on the tanks.
Yeah, we'll figure
Then
it out.
isolate the lines and then do you do a line test on all the individuals. I'm sure it's a discharge system. The current system is a discharge or suction?
That's a suction, most likely on that.
I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
Does it have a pump on top of the tank, or does it have a pump? What is
It's
it?
probably like the turbo, it's right in the,
Dispenser
right-
itself.
Yeah, in the sump, yeah.
So it's a discharge system.
Yeah,
So you could do a
I get it.
discharge test on the discharge lines, right?
okay,
But we're gonna need to see a copy of the complete tank test report.
okay,
Then, once you remove the tanks, you need to submit to us a plan on your tank removal activities.
okay,
And basically in that, I'm gonna expect the standard number of New York State DEC ground soil samples from around those tanks and test for the STARS
okay.
parameters. You have to submit a tank closure report.
So the capacity's staying the same?
The capacity, I think it's going up actually, slightly. I think there's one, what do we show, the proposed condition? We don't actually.
You just say proposed tank, you don't say the
I'll
size.
double check. They're
Is there
nominally the same, but I think it
is
might
there a
be going
setback
up.
requirement for the tanks?
There is, it's like 3 feet or something.
Okay, because they seem awfully close to the property
Yeah,
line,
we can
and that's
double check it.
very close to the highway.
Where are the new tanks going?
Oh, yeah,
Right
yeah.
up to
You wanna take your pictures out and show us?
Yeah, the new tanks are
Wow.
basically between kind of the pumps.
That is tight.
You can walk us through the
Yeah,
program. Just make sure you're talking to the microphone.
sure. So, obviously, just to kind of step back and then kind of dive into details, but the property is basically, they're more or less doing a refresh. The company that owns this property owns a number of gas stations, and they basically have a program where they kind of reinvest in their existing facilities and look to more or less just come up to market with kind of existing. So the biggest kind of driver that actually started this was, well, 2 things. One was a canopy. There's no canopy over the existing pumps. And then obviously the convenience store offering was a little bit secondary. Now, prior to our office actually getting involved, there was an application submitted. It had a car wash, it had a bigger convenience store. I'm not even sure if this board ever even saw those plans. but it was a little more ambitious. When we kind of stalled because we had to also deal with DEP on this project, as I'm sure everybody's aware. So we met with them, and they pretty much, in a very polite term, more or less said we were sideways on a number of things with the prior plan. So the parameter for this project that you see before you is essentially to stay within the existing footprint of development. Okay, this exhibit basically just shows, it's hard to see probably from where you guys are, but there's a red outline around the existing kind of footprint of impervious coverage. And really, if we go beyond that, things get really complicated with the DEP, and I'm sure you folks and everybody else kind of says, listen, if you're rebuilding in kind and maybe improving things or kind of repositioning some things, you know, we have a chance to come to the table. So we came to the table with a revised plan. The red outline is essentially the existing development, where within that, the green highlights you see are just what's existing pavement that we're, you know, going to make lawn or landscape areas. So this is just kind of a visual to kind of understand that we're more or less trying to stay within the existing footprint. The proposal is to take the tanks out. Obviously, the building is coming out, the pumps are coming out, and all the product piping is coming out. So we're basically going to start from scratch. You know, we'll talk a little bit more about the closure report, and we'll certainly submit that. American Petroleum, I'm sure, has done, you know, 100 plus of them, so we'll lean on them a little bit, and, you know, we'll put it together under the Stonefield title block, but I'll talk to them a little bit more offline and listen to any other guidance from you guys. But essentially, we remove everything that's out there existing, including the building, foundation, et cetera, everything underground, not proposing to reuse anything other than the sign. I think that's the only thing that's going to remain. Pavement's coming up. Anything that's really improved on the site is coming up. I think we kept the existing air station, maybe a light pole or two, but you're more or less looking at a raise and rebuild. The proposal is to come back with a total of 6 fueling pumps, have the canopy. The underground storage tanks would be new. I think we're double wall fiberglass Xerxes. All the product piping, obviously double wall fiberglass. You know, there's no grading issues or anything.
Not
So it all,
using flex pipe, you're just gonna use double wall, what, Amaron?
I believe so,
LCX?
yeah. We can put some more detail to
I
it,
need
but
to know
that's
what
my
type of
understanding,
piping you're
yeah.
putting in.
I think it's gonna be the rigid,
Amaron LCX.
yeah.
And the sump penetration fittings, they're gonna be double penetration fittings or single penetration fittings? Because you're gonna be required to do a sump test, right?
I'm sure, yeah. I don't know, right off the top of my head. Sounds like you know this potentially better than I, but I can confirm with American Petroleum on the penetrations. But obviously pitched back, no grading issues, pitched back to the sumps, monitored, you know, at the underground tanks. They're gonna put basically a new Vita root system in the convenience store. I don't think we're reusing anything in terms of the existing the Vita root or any other monitors in terms of sumps or otherwise dispenser pans. I think it's all coming out, all going to be brand new. Obviously be monitored within the convenience store. There'd be a local operator for the convenience store, but obviously the fuel is run by New York Fuel, which is the corporate entity. The convenience store has a different branding. That's Cocoa Farms, just kind of a new brand that's out there. But
No thought was given to any continuing the auto servicing that goes there?
thought probably, but not. It's not in the current plan. I mean, the business side of it certainly would probably be beyond my realm here. But as far as I've known this project, these guys believe that this site, just to talk the 2-second version of the business end of what I've heard, is that this site underperforms for what they think the market share is. And they think the biggest thing is not having a canopy, honestly, as easy as that. It just isn't that inviting, I guess, of a facility. So unless it's directly, unless it's something you've been coming to for a while, they don't think they're really pulling many new customers and probably losing a lot of their customer base over time. So they think the market share is X. I don't know the numbers, and they think they're a fraction of what that would be.
McDonald's next door, they don't do very much business.
Yeah.
McDonald's next door is always busy there.
Now, where is the wetlands or the 100-foot
Okay.
buffer in relation?
So there's basically what happens is if, there's a wetland basically right across the street. On the other side is Stoneleigh. This grade is basically a hill coming down towards Stoneleigh, right? So there's kind of some
Yep.
meandering with ditches in there. We did walk it with DEP, and it was questionable whether they would take jurisdiction on it. I don't think they have. I don't know if they've actually issued that determination on paper, but verbally, they haven't really taken jurisdiction on it. But it's basically a pocket kind of low area that more or less, if you can picture this up gradient area coming in.
Sure.
There's kind of a low area that sits, and then there's a pipe that goes
Across.
actually through our property, main trunk line on 6, and then it's discharging off.
Is that being replaced?
24-inch
The
line,
piece on our property
discharges there.
is
Wow, look at that.
staying. We've talked about potentially redoing it, just to make sure it's like an existing, that it's gonna be a competent pipe moving forward, but we're not gonna change the orientation of it or the size of it, because honestly, it's almost at like it's got almost no slope on it. So we thought about routing it, but point A to point B, the longer we make it, the less slope it's gonna have. So we've actually decided to keep it in its current location. We've talked about rebuilding it. I know the planning board engineers brought that up as well, and we're agreeable to reconstructing it in kind.
Do you know how old that pipe is?
I don't. I could venture a guess, but it would just be a guess.
Was anything said about the wetlands across Route 6?
Down the street?
There's a stream over there.
Yeah, I think it's basically, I don't know if right here, but the trunk line comes over and discharges plus or minus where my pen is a
And
little
that's-
bit down the road.
And that stream and everything is well outside the 100-foot buffer?
Correct,
Are
correct.
you- Are you sure it's outside?
Yeah,
It's almost right across the street.
yeah, I mean, it might be like right here,
Oh, I think it's even closer.
is it?
You need to check that.
Yeah, you'll have
Okay.
to check that. Across the street is the DEC wetlands. I don't know how close it is.
There's also across the street is the car dealership,
Right,
which we have a lot of experience with.
okay.
So you may want to just double check to
I think
see
it's a
where to
little
check the
further.
stream location.
I think it's a little further down the road.
Maybe, but just verify.
The stream is, butts right up to McDonald's.
You mean right here?
Yeah,
So
because
the
remember
Michael's
McDonald's?
truck?
Yeah,
On the other
McDonald's
side
are
of
over there.
McDonald's, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. McDonald's has a decent-sized property there.
Yeah,
I think
it's-
it's, so,
If you're at McDonald's,
This is
the
it, Vince.
side of McDonald's that you're standing on,
Right.
This is a stream.
what's your name, please, for the record?
Jeff Martell.
Jeff Martin.
Yes.
There's a stream over kind of where this side of the property.
On this side
yeah,
of
right
McDonald's?
about where your hand is.
Yeah, that's my feeling, is it's right about here.
Lower, it goes
You need to just,
parallel.
it goes parallel to
100
the
feet.
McDonald's.
It's clear.
Oh, here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
So you need to check to see if that's within the 100-foot.
Got it,
See
got
what
it,
portion
got
of your
Right.
property is,
Feet here.
Right.
Okay, I'm
Right.
thinking about the discharge across.
close.
I got you.
It's close.
I'm pretty sure the McDonald's lot, the development is 100.
you gotta
100
check
feet.
that.
I got it,
You gotta check it.
got it.
Check across the street too.
Now, do you have the total area disturbed within the 100-foot buffer? That you're disturbing, that you know that's the 100-foot buffer of the area by Stoneleigh Avenue?
Got it, so this square footage right here?
Yeah. What's the area of disturbance?
For the whole project, you're saying?
No, just,
Yeah, I was
Just in-
gonna
Just in the
say,
buffer.
Don't know if I have it just in the buffer.
Okay, you need to give us
just in the buffer.
the approximate square footage of the area that you're disturbing inside the buffer.
Right.
Yeah.
There usually is a question about the wetland delineation, but I'm assuming you're taking it right at the edge of the right-of-way.
Yeah, there was a delineation done, there's kind of a black set of
Yes.
lines right here.
Got
And
it.
you had a wetlands inspector do that?
Correct.
You
Yeah,
had-
not our
they had
office,
a
they had a
wetland
separate
inspector, they had a
consultant do
wetlands-
it.
Looks like,
Science.
just based on the plan, it
Scientist.
was done by Ecological Solutions in 2014.
Okay.
Yeah, they hired
Are you adding any impervious surfaces?
we're subtracting approximately like 2,000 square feet. We're reducing by about 2,000 square feet.
Okay, but the areas that you're disturbing in
Right.
the buffer,
Yep.
you need to take that number, whatever that number is, and that's the amount of mitigation you need to give us.
In the buffer or on the site?
Outside of the buffer, whatever you're disturbing within the buffer.
Yep.
And that would include the canopy
Okay,
and the, I guess, you would look at the canopy and the concrete pavement as two separate entities or one unit?
It would be-
Just so we can come back with
Total square footage.
Yeah.
a good direction, disturbing concrete to concrete, asphalt to asphalt, even if we're disturbing the asphalt, do mitigation.
That area that he's marking off right now,
Yes.
that's the mitigation you owe us.
And what is, how is the mitigation
Plantings?
given back to you?
You tell me. It could either be a,
Rain
wet-
garden.
it could either be a rain garden, or you can have some infiltration, stormwater.
Stormwater
Surface
inserts,
inserts.
infiltration,
Filtration.
quality enhancers for stormwater runoff in structures, rain garden, you have to come up with
So it's like a
calculations.
discretion, like, it's like a, we do like we propose something, and this somewhat sounds like a little bit discretionary in terms of equating
Correct.
Yeah.
what the disturbance is to what
Yes.
the gain is, okay.
Now, here's the thing, that-
There are some stormwater improvements we're proposing as well as landscaping, and we can probably dive into that.
Well, if they tie into that, that's fine.
Okay.
well, here's the thing with the stormwater now that, you brought it up, is make sure when we're not pitching everything from the fueling islands towards the stormwater, right? I mean, we're going to, because my concern is somebody has a drive-off, leaks, whatever. It's just, we're not gonna run directly right into the storm drain, correct?
There is, I wouldn't say direct, but there's maybe 30 feet of pavement, 40 feet of pavement, so beyond the concrete. Basically, the catch basin's at the curb along the
Okay.
road.
Yeah.
So there's a period of time, in theory, you could get out to spill containment and stuff. It's not gonna be in direct proximity to the,
Just,
yeah, I get it.
Do you have is there standard plans that go in place in terms of spill? I mean, I can't imagine there's not, but what are the plans do you have in place for if there is a spill at a refueling facility like this? I mean, is there training that's done? Do they have,
Yeah, so
do
you're,
they have
you're-
spill kits on site?
they
you're
typically have
obligated to
spill
have a,
kit.
quote, spill prevention plan, which is really a document that says if this, then that.
And you'll
here's-
supply us with that, right?
and here's how you're gonna train your employees and et cetera, et cetera. So that is a, requirement by the state, obviously. But, in terms of the spill kit, it's usually, there's usually.
Kitty litter.
Yeah, there's like a kitty litter type thing. There's usually like a tube, almost like a big sponge or something, that in theory you can.
Looks like a sausage.
Yeah, exactly. It's basically, or, like a noodle you see when you jump in the water, it kind of looks like that. So you could basically put it around. So there's a couple things, but those are basically obviously meant for very, very small,
You have,
manageable scenarios, and then there's protocol beyond.
Right, oh, I think we're definitely gonna wanna have that, whatever spill prevention plan you're gonna be put in place here, moving forward and after the construction, we want that submitted in the file. Or I would like to see it for sure.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, so I see you have silt fence around the job.
Right.
What's LOD?
It's the limited disturbance,
Okay.
so it's for the whole project.
Sewage, filter drop, inlet protection, perfect. Stabilized construction entrance, fine. Straw bale dike. You need to show us on here, you have your proposed soil stockpile, which is fine. Perfect. And it's gonna be, you have silt fence, you're gonna put some hay bales around that too, right? You need to also provide us a,
I think one of the comments we actually got out of the engineering department was hay bales are frowned upon, so there was probably a change to.
you can use some hay bales in front of the entrance to get dirt in and out.
Okay,
But for the most part, they want silt fence all the way around it. And
Got
you
it.
can use the hay bales as just a
Entrance.
entrance.
attacking.
Any catch basin that's out there should have the frame removed, and you should have a filter fabric
They have it.
installed. They have that in
They
there?
have that filter drop.
Did you submit the deed for this property
What are you looking for?
in the file?
We did the-
No,
What page was that on? The,
C8.
So we're gonna need that as well. And if there are any owners on it that haven't given permission or haven't implicitly provided permission through the application submitted, we're gonna need a note that says all the owners are fine with it as well.
Understood. I believe the owners are near fuel distributors LLC.
Great.
The LLC won't be an issue.
Cool. Alright.
I don't know, Stonefield submitted the application to your board, so I'm not sure who signed off on the application, whether it was the engineer or the owners, but if we're missing an owner's signature, we'll be sure to get it to you.
Okay.
Do you detail a fueling area here? Fueling equipment?
Say that one more time, sorry.
A fueling area, fueling for the equipment? Do you have a fueling area on the plans?
No, not like a area that's independent of the
No.
drive aisles. They basically park.
For your construction
Now,
equipment?
during a construction, you need to
Oh,
show us a
during
fueling area, a fueling plan
Fueling,
For heavy machinery.
for heavier equipment, because you were
Okay.
using an excavator, right?
okay.
That would go
So
for
during construction,
Yeah, during
fueling
construction.
the construction equipment.
fueling plan, spill
What's your
kit.
fueling off-site?
We'll find out. I don't know. I'll have to find out.
If you are fueling on site, you'll have to provide they'll need a spill kit anyways.
And if they tell us off-site, then we just need to put
Then I
that
can
as
note
part of the
that.
document.
Yeah, but you still do need to provide where you're gonna be having the spill kit, like that needs to be identified on your map. That's for things, hydraulic leak, or if there's any leaking from the machinery itself, being able to, get that quickly
Regardless of
cleaned up.
whether we actually fuel, we need to fuel the spill kit.
Right.
And then I guess the drains for the canopy are gonna go right into the storm
Correct.
drain?
So, do we wanna have I would like to hear anyone's thought on the discussion of that 24-inch pipe, whether or not you have any opinions about it
Did
being
you do a,
replaced, or?
Place it in kind.
Did you guys do an inspection of that pipe with a camera?
We haven't, but it has been discussed at other levels, so. Yeah, we can do an inspection, and
Yeah.
if it's,
Inspection,
if
you know,
it's
you.
damaged or
so
whatever,
What
then
it's made
replace it.
from, you should know what
Perfect.
it's made from, and the condition of that pipe. If it's old, metal lines.
Yeah, we've talked about regardless of, whether it was required or not, the it's been on his mind anyway, so. We're happy to do that.
How long is this project proposed to take?
It's probably 5 months plus or minus. I'm sure they'd like to do it quicker.
Do you have any details on the pump equipment,
We haven't submitted.
tanks and stuff?
We haven't submitted it. I mean, we have it, but we haven't
I'd like
submitted
to
it.
see that, please.
One more item on that 24-inch pipe. So you were mentioning before, when you were taking a look at it, that it was relatively flat. What's the pitch on that pipe? Do you have any idea?
It's almost flat.
And you were gonna tie, the existing water discharge from, like the structure and the thing you're putting in place, the canopy, is gonna go into that 24-inch pipe, or does that
No,
go out?
we're gonna connect at the downstream structure. So we're not proposing to connect to that pipe or touch. We might replace it in kind based on what we're discussing right here, but we're not gonna connect to it or drain to it.
Do you have any idea what map that's on? where you're-
C5.
Thank you.
So we're gonna connect it. It runs to runs from a structure that's in Stonewood. Structure
But
that's-
you do have a proposed inlet that connects to that 24-inch pipe.
Right, that's an existing,
That's proposed on.
that's an existing inlet right there.
Maybe they're.
Why I'm bringing this up is, my concern is if that pipe is almost that grade, and we get a storm surge, or if there's any sort of, like a storm surge, all of the runoff that's coming from this property may come back through that pipe into the wetlands. And so that's my main concern here, and that's a lot, that could be potential hazardous, very hazardous to the wetlands there.
It's discharging right there.
Discharging right there.
It's discharging there already. 24-inch pipe.
So what he's saying is.
Dick,
very
that's a
flat,
big
very
pipe.
slope.
Yeah.
And if it's, even if it's got a less than 1% on it, or less than an eighth per foot, I mean, if you're saying it's flat, I mean, 24 inch, it can still flow. It'll still flow, even full, it'll flow.
Burning here or something, or-
It's a large
As in
pipe.
forward, not back.
Forward.
Right.
If it's got some sort of a pitch going the way that we want it to go, it'll be fine.
Well, it all depends on what the,
Clean.
what the,
Unless there's a dam built in front of it, or
Yeah, unless
it
it's rotted out.
collapses.
but that 24-inch pipe drains quite a bit of area.
Well,
Drains-
you know-
Drains the new CVS that's over there, that whole parking lot.
That's, yeah, right, I forgot about that.
There's decent pitch from
This is just taking.
wetland to the other side of Stone Lake.
Oh, there is, okay,
And then this run is pretty flat.
all right.
Couldn't you,
And then it's got pitch again, but this
Inlet.
pitch, for that 50, 70 feet is pretty solid.
When you come back again, if you could tell us the exact pitch of that area, I think that would alleviate a lot of my
Well,
concerns.
it's like, yeah,
This is over here.
it's gonna be about 1%
Oh, I got you.
in that range, which is good for that size pipe, 1%. It's got a pretty high conveyance.
Right, all right,
the worst case scenario is you dig that pipe up, install a new pipe, and at the end by Route 6 there, you put
We don't know what's going
a
on.
manhole, get enough pitch on that pipe,
into this
to
area,
that
this
manhole,
wetland here.
let the manhole fill up and then connect to the other. You can make that almost as a, what do they call that,
See that now.
pressure relief manhole. It's kind of like a dropout, silt box. Run in there, let it foam, when it raises up. No, but then it's too low, forget it.
A runoff.
Yeah, don't do it.
Yeah, the problem
It's fine.
is, there's about
pitch of
6/10
the
of a foot drop across the road, so it might be a hair over 1%. And then the difference between the invert of this structure and the invert of the trunk line, that's where we're kind of handcuffed. So,
Can't replace the whole thing.
no, yeah,
The other thing is a question mark is what exactly is going into the inlet of that questionable pipe?
on the upstream side, so I think for the most part, it's what's coming
most
down
part,
the
is
hill.
there-
This development, I think has some sort of stormwater facility, that discharges across their driveway.
I think you have to give us a little bit more information, a little more definitive information about what's going into that pipe. Because I think it's a legitimate question. It's a flat pipe, and we don't want to see it back up. If you had a little more information about what exactly is going into that pipe. We can see that the wetland from across the street is going into it, and it might be the one on the other side of the driveway also.
Yeah, this definitely goes into it.
Does anyone recall when we were talking about that, the parking lot that was going into place for the car dealership up the road a little bit? One of the major concerns we had was from fuel runoff from the cars that are gonna be driving in and out there.
Made them put in, special units inside the drains.
Right,
They're like oil water separators type units. They're like pig, they're called pigs. You put them in the drain just to to absorb some of the oil, let the water run free. But those require maintenance.
The drainage plan currently contemplates an oil water separator going in on that inlet on the Route 6 side of the
does,
property.
all right.
And I need to see the maintenance on
Yeah.
that, the maintenance frequency.
So we have an oil water separator at basically at this structure, and then we also have a water quality unit that we're proposing as well for TSS removal,
Good.
Where would you put that?
things. That's only gonna take a section of the site, but that's basically, it's on its way in the vicinity of that structure.
Is it
It's
shown on one
actually
of the plans
upstream of
again?
that structure.
Not yet.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Labeled on C5 as proposed.
Yeah.
WQ water quality.
A lot more detail on that.
Well, they'll have to propose, if they're putting it in,
Right.
we need the
I
detail.
think some of the issue is you guys have an earlier version of the plans before we got another round of engineering comments, so I apologize. When I say it's on the plan, it's not actually, might not be labeled on your plan.
Okay.
It's on the current version that I'm looking at.
Yeah, sorry, we're on revision 3, you're right.
Before we filed with you, before we got to you, we had another round with the planning board and the engineering comments and responses, so the plans
We'll have
developed
to
a little bit further.
Submit multiple copies.
We'll make sure we get you.
Revisions, reports and
Understood.
otherwise.
And you're gonna have to have your contractor submit copies of his certifications for the tanks and the piping. that
For the
he's
tanks and the what?
and the piping, you know, all the equipment
Yeah.
associated with it. We need to see that.
And the timing of all this is
Tomorrow.
before you, I mean, you want to see these
No,
yeah.
No, I thought at the time you said we want to start by tomorrow. No, we,
No,
you
no.
can have, by next meeting, then we'll look at it, we'll review all the information you give us, and if everything is complete, we'll we'll advertise. So we'll go over my list and I'll see if you got, so you're gonna need to submit a soil sampling plan when you take those tanks out of service. You gotta sample the soil around it. Any hint of contamination within the DEC guidelines, you guys know what
We're
to do.
addressing it, yep.
You need to call the state, get them out there to inspect the hole, and either dig and haul or whatever they recommend. That's not our jurisdiction, that's the, that's the state. Need a copy of the current PBS registration for the tanks, and we would need a copy of the PBS application when the new tanks go in. You need to provide us some details on the tanks, the piping, the equipment. I need to know what kind of, equipment you're putting in there. When you do your tank closure report, we need a copy of that. You should also test the tanks prior to pulling the tanks, provide the report.
6 inches of asphalt.
Provide the size of the tanks and the make, the type. Check the stream location to see if it's not within 100 feet. Calculate the area of disturbance in the buffer and how you're gonna mitigate. Spill prevention plan during construction.
And
And he's
after.
gonna need a spill prevention plan when the facility's in operation. Copy of the deed. Fueling plan and a spill kit, location on the drawings where during when they have the heavy equipment on site. And the maintenance and the maintenance frequency for the oil water separator. And the water treatment, you need to provide us with some information on that.
Did you say anything about the inspecting the 24-inch pipe?
Provide us, information on the 24-inch pipe.
Including get us an idea of what is connected to that pipe,
The
okay?
tributary.
And
area.
also, you're going to, you mentioned the fact that he's gonna look into making sure, we don't think it probably isn't, but check, make sure that across the street wetlands is not. It's probably out, but you should check that.
I also noticed that there's a waste oil tank on the property. Is that being removed?
Yes,
Is that buried or above ground?
I think it's buried. No, yes, I think it's buried.
Same thing with that. You gotta take, minimum number of required samples from around that tank. Here's the rule of thumb, any
Oh,
tank
I'm sorry, that is-
removed,
yeah, yep.
any
okay.
tank removed, soil samples from around it, we wanna see the copies of the results. Follow the, state protocol.
Fuel oil tank, same thing?
Removed, yep.
It's being removed and replaced?
Yes.
It is being removed and,
Expanding the capacity of
correct,
fuel.
we're not going with the oil. It's
Well,
not gonna be
I'm
fuel,
talking about fuel oil for the,
Yeah.
it's gonna, it's not gonna be fuel oil, there's gonna be propane. Yeah,
okay.
we're taking out the fuel oil, obviously the waste oil is going with the service,
Mm-hmm.
is going, and then the new building, will have propane.
So then, for all those tanks, so the PBS application you're gonna give me, it's gonna have the existing gasoline tanks, because now we're over the state limit of 1,001. You're gonna show me the gasoline tanks, the waste oil tank, the heating oil tank, any tank you have on that property that's buried should be on that PBS.
Got it.
And then subsequently going in.
Do you need any special permits or anything for putting in a propane tank?
I don't, they'll be done by, they have guys that it's an above-ground tank.
Got it, all right.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a quote permit, but it's a registration.
Yeah.
There's a 250 propane tank for what? Is
For
that
heat.
heating the
Heating,
building?
yeah.
You're not selling propane?
No.
Actually, there is a propane tank location. Well,
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, but I don't think we're selling, right? We're not selling. I think it's just for the
Who wants to read the SWIP?
service to building.
Kicking me? I'll read it. Not now. Unless you guys want to hang out here while I do
No,
some light reading.
that's quite all right.
Wait, there's more.
Jeff, Leo, is there any detail in there on that construction site with the equipment for dealing with debris and sweeping, construction debris?
There is mention of it, there's not like quote detailing anything in particular that you wanna,
Well, with the area that you're working in, it's a pretty
Yep.
busy intersection.
Right.
I'd like to see something with just dust control measures, number one, that you'd have water on site available. It's part of your detail. And then sweeping, or whether that's
Right.
gonna be manual, or it's a mobile sweeper, a vacuum-type sweeper.
I think it's
It's,
planned to be manual.
Are there any other,
a note of that in the,
Okay.
in
Put
there.
it on, put it on the plans.
Yeah, put it on the plan.
are there any other tanks above ground that were used for the automotive repair building aside from the waste oil tank?
No, I think you hit the two, there's the waste oil and the heating oil.
Okay.
The only two that I know of.
The removal of the existing asphalt, that's gonna be done by a milling machine, or is that just gonna be excavated?
I think it's gonna be extra, because I don't think we're saving any of the
We'll need a-
subbase or anything.
It's only probably a 2 to 3 inch
We want
base on that.
construction
They're going
sequence.
full depth in their detail, that's why I
That
asked,
should be in
you
the
know, they're
construction
going down
detail,
a
how it's
full,
gonna be done,
Yeah,
when it's
provide
gonna
us
be
a
done,
construction
and how it's gonna be done,
sequence.
all the steps in construction.
It's full depth,
we
that's why
normally
I
require
asked.
that.
well, you have a nice detail in there, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I also asked for, basically information on the new equipment being installed, the tanks, the piping,
Yep.
stuff like that.
Got that.
All right? Thanks
All
for
right.
coming.
We got a little homework, but
when's your next
thank you.
meeting?
2 weeks.
The 20th.
When do you want to start?
I'm not the client, they're not here.
So 2 weeks, and then beyond that is
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
the
The
first,
first of the first
the third.
Thursday of the month and the third
Third,
Thursday.
first and third Thursday
Yeah.
of the month.
Some of these things are probably easily achievable, the others, like inspecting the pipe and things like that, may take some
Yeah, I
time to
think
coordinate.
realistically.
Well, the as long as you provide us, if you, I would even go so far as you showing me that you've engaged in the services of a licensed tank tester, and, say, listen, we're gonna go out, and, once we get going on the project, just write me a letter, we've engaged the services of,
Got it.
and they're gonna use the standard, easy to relocator or some other form of tank testing, but they should be certified in it. And if you don't have a certified tester, then listen, we can't enforce, the state enforces. So, there's no, just make sure we do it above board.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So thanks. Or should we kick to
Depends on whether we submit, do you have us, to, like, coordinate with Rose, basically, as far as when we're
just
coming back to you?
Yeah, just talk to Rose. I'll send her an email tomorrow of our little time together. And then I destroyed this file. All right. Next, minutes. So Torano and Barnett can't vote, we can't vote. 8-4, Logan, Bennett can't vote. 9-1 we can vote on. Do I have a motion to approve the meetings for 9-1? No one I can't vote is Dusovic.
Make that motion.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved. And September
Thank you.
15th,
Good night.
Dusovic and Starachi, you can't vote.
Star race.
Star race.
Just saying, yeah, that's very good.
Oh,
You're
him?
right, you're right.
Just saying it the correct way, and
Yeah, right.
it's the way I've been saying it
You
my
like
whole
that?
life.
See, I didn't even know
Prefers
that.
Starace.
That's it, then say that, that's okay.
You feel
Should we
He
vote?
feels vindicated now.
good.
It's fine.
Do I have a motion to approve the
Well, we
minutes for
have
September 15th?
We-
We have four.
So,
Yeah.
can we?
Okay,
Yes.
yeah, we have
So
four.
moved.
Second,
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
One other issue is we need to, if anybody in the audience would like to join us for, become a member of the Environmental Conservation Board. Mark had, resigned a couple of months ago, and we have a vacancy. It's the first and third Thursday of every month. It's interesting, it's good civic duty. If anybody's interested, please contact the town supervisor, Ken Schmidt. Send a resume over, and he'll arrange to have
Interview.
a meet and greet. Last item is, they have a lead agency selection format. You know anything about this?
For what?
What's
I don't know,
the,
this is for Cuck Day Road LLC?
it's from what, the planning board?
Yeah.
Oh, for the Western,
Oh, this is for the Cocoa Farm.
West Shore Drive, Carmel.
Where's, oh, yes.
Oh, this is a different one.
This is Day Road.
Oh, wow. Yuck. Somers.
So this one goes with this one.
What's the project? Do we know what the project is?
I don't know if I need to sign this one or not. I'll leave that alone. What is that for?
Subdivision. Unlisted action.
Well,
I'll
the-
talk to
as far as the lead agency, I don't know.
Yeah, I
The
don't- I think it's
ECB, I
usually the
think would be planning.
planning board.
generally, Yeah,
It's a subdivision.
and everybody else weighs in.
It's existing.
I'll call her tomorrow about
Yeah.
this.
It's
It's to
existing
determine,
four-
to determine the lead agency in this particular plan, that's all. And
So
they're
it's-
asking what you think, that's all.
It's an existing 14.79 acre parcel with a single-family residence. They're proposed putting a three-lot subdivision on here. Western Bluff subdivision, serviced by individual wells and septics with a common driveway. So they're taking one parcel, they want to split it into three with,
Subdividing.
yeah, subdivision.
I think that's the planning board's I'll
Probably
ask her
would
what she
be. Yeah,
wants.
that's most appropriate.
Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Make that motion?
Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Good night. Have a nice weekend. Happy Columbus Day.